I'm Rachel Edidin.
And I'm Miles Stokes.
And we are the hosts of Rachel and Miles Explain the X-Men, a weekly podcast where we walk listeners through the ins, outs, and retcons of our very favorite superhero soap opera.
We're also the co-hosts of Rachel and Miles Review the X-Men,
which you're watching right now,
where we talk about the X-books that come out every week.
So first of all, welcome to all the folks who clicked over from Entertainment Weekly, which initially linked here instead of to our actual podcast. The podcast you can find via a link below. It is actually, produced and edited and a number of things that these videos are not. So yeah, check that out. It's much better.
But in the meantime, so we were gone last week because there were actually no X-books for once, ever.
Best holiday gift ever.
This time there are 5. We're starting the new year, so let's go ahead and dive on in.
First up, we have Storm number 7. This is written by Greg Pak, penciled by Al Barrionuevo, inked by Tom Palmer, and colored by Ruth Redmond. And it is, I think, the strongest issue of what's so far been a very strong run.
I think I would disagree personally. I was a really big fan of especially the early issues, but specifically number 2, the one with Callisto. I was a huge fan of that.
See, that was a terrific issue, but it was also a standalone. And I think there are different standards and different requirements of an issue that's a story on its own and one that's propelling the plot into what looks like, in this case, like it's going to be a much larger arc. And I was really impressed with how deftly this handled that, and also with how well it situated Storm with the X-Men. That's a challenge, I think, that comes up a lot in solo books focused on people who are with current team affiliations. And Pak gets it out of the way and deals with it and works the X-Men in extremely deftly while keeping the focus very much on Storm, both narratively and thematically.
Yeah, I really like how Beast and Rachel Summers in this issue specifically. But
and
I like
Nightcrawler, actually.
Yes.
Because I was one of the things, I love the way Barrionuevo draws Nightcrawler. I wanted to comment on that.
But yeah, I like that they're sort of like the home team. They're basically the people who are helping Storm, who's going kind of out on her own. They're, at various computers and using their telepathy to figure stuff out.
I think the phrase you're looking for is pit crew, not home team.
Pit crew. There we go. They're changing her wheels out whenever she comes in when she finishes a lap.
Oh man, Storm, yeah. Total spoiler, Storm is actually just a monster truck in this series.
For decades.
It's amazing, though. So good. No. Oh, that would be good. That would be good, though. But no, it's a lovely series, and Barrionuevo's art is something that we've been lukewarm on, just because in comparison to the other main artist on
Victor
this...
Ibáñez,
yeah. Yeah, Victor Ibáñez sets a very, very high bar, and in this issue, I think more than his previous ones, Barrionuevo really clicked with me. Part of that was how well he drew the other X-Men. Part of that is that he and Palmer in combination, this particular issue, reminded me very much stylistically and layout-wise of Steve Lieber.
Totally.
Which is pretty much always a plus.
And the art also nails Righteous Fury in a way that few artists can with Storm.
Yeah, that's always a requirement, and that's something that, God, yeah, this book's Storm is going to be, I think, and continue to be the definitive version of the character, both visually and tonally.
Second on the list, we have Death of Wolverine, the Weapon X program, number 5 of 5, last issue in the series. This one's written by Charles Soule with enough artists that we're just going to put their names up on the screen. So there you go.
And this is, if I'm not mistaken, the very last official Death of Wolverine tie-in, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. This is over. Life After Logan's over. Logan Legacy is over. The Captain America and Deadpool one is over. So we're good.
It's the end of our long national nightmare.
Yes, indeed. So in this, everything wraps up as you might imagine, or at least leads on to the next chapter. We see the Weapon X escapees discover both that there has been a traitor in their midst and who that is, and we see them also discover kind of what the deal with them is, which is that they are, well, I'll let you read the issue, but it's a really cool twist.
I should mention that this issue came out a little bit late, and so technically got spoiled by the end of the Logan Legacy. Also, that it leads directly into the Wolverines #1, another book that came out this week. You're going to want to pay attention to reading order if you're following all of these series, because there are a lot of fairly rapid-fire reveals that aren't going to make a ton of sense if you're not reading them in the right order.
Or alternately, just read a panel from each one in order. You're going to tell yourself a beautiful and strange story.
Alternately, read summaries online. It's a crossover.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, it's an event.
One of the things I really liked about this issue is we sort of are learning more about what the deal is with the main character, Sharp, and the voice in his head, and just seeing the conflicting internal dialogue there. It could totally be a gimmick, but for me, I really bought it in this issue. I find it really interesting and compelling. Somebody with kind of the soul of a killer in the back of their head, granting them skills they need, but trying to be a good person on top of that. I don't know. I guess I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. I thought it was pretty rad.
Yeah, the writing is solid. The art continues to be solid. Man, after a conversation online, I've started thinking about how much better this and every other Hard-Boiled Teen book would be if it were written by John Arcudi. So now I'm judging it by that standard, which I don't recommend doing because it'll ruin everything forever.
Not everything can be BPRD. But
it should be.
But for a series that really came off as just seemingly a way to move books and make money, Weapon X program, it turned out pretty decent. I feel pretty glad that I read it.
Yeah, it's solid, it's fun, it's pretty interesting. Next up, we have All New X Factor number 19, written by Peter David, drawn by Carmine de Giandomenico, and colored by Lee Luffridge. And look, I feel like a jerk saying this, but this is kind of starting to feel like a vigil.
Yeah, All New X Factor is going to be ending in not too many issues, and it's a book that seems to have had a lot of trouble finding its voice. Sometimes issues are super strong and stellar, and other times they're issues like this one.
Yeah, this issue is basically a protracted fight scene with a cool premise that should make for a much better and more interesting protracted fight scene than this is. I think that's actually one of my biggest ongoing frustrations with X Factor, is that it's got the elements of what should be a good story, and they're just not falling into place. David's eclectic, interesting team has a lot of characters I like, but no dynamics that really let him use his strengths, which are, snappy sitcom dialogue. The art is nice, but forgettable, and yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things this issue in particular suffers from, Rachel, you mentioned dialogue being a strength with Peter David, which I completely agree with. Since it is a big fight scene, it's not as engaging as it might be. It's like a bunch of big actiony pictures, but I don't really feel drawn into the book when it comes to fight scenes and All New X Factor.
Yeah, well, and the lineup is baffling to me. I feel like that is the place where David has most severely shot himself in the foot. Because if you look at previous iterations of X Factor, going back to his first one, the original Government X, or second string Government X Factor, he's typically done his best when he's got a group that coalesces into a big dysfunctional family.
Mm-hmm.
This group hasn't. This group is a bunch of weirdos who don't really talk to each other, don't really mesh in any particularly interesting or dynamic ways. Some of them do one or two at a time, but as a team, there's just not much there. They're like a pickup group.
That being said, this issue does have one thing going for it, which is Danger basically playing Aowen, replacing I Am No Man with I Have No Soul, so that was kind of cool.
Well, see, no, that bugged me too, because of the whole, souls and their relative irrelevance was a pretty significant theme in the last X Factor series, and so coming back to that here, like, the threat of an enemy who basically eats souls is pretty significantly offset by what happened in the last series.
Fair enough.
At least for me. But, hopefully we'll see a strong end, at least, to the series. But this is just depressing.
Next is the new weekly Wolverines #1. This is written by Charles Soule and drawn by Nick Bradshaw and Walden Wong, except where it's drawn by Alison Borges for a couple of pages, colored by Foucault Placencia. So this book comes directly out of the Death of Wolverine series' The Weapon X program and the Logan Legacy.
Yeah, now when we said that Weapon X #5 was the last Death of Wolverine tie-in, what we actually meant is that it's the last book that has a little Death of Wolverine bar at the top. Really, Wolverines is a Death of Wolverine tie-in.
Yeah, and it's billed as an ongoing. I suspect it will continue until probably Wolverine comes back from the dead, however and whenever that happens. It's probably not too far down the road. That being said, the series... I was expecting something really, really cheap and gimmicky, and it's actually kind of cool. It's a series that I didn't feel like was a waste of time to read. I do enjoy that it's integrated the 5-person casts of each of the books it came out of into a very unlikely team. That's actually a lot of fun, seeing characters bounce off of each other in new and strange ways. Seeing Endo from the Weapon X program, who had her appearance changed against her will, talking to Mystique about what that means for identity. Little character moments like that I wasn't expecting in a book that's basically about cutting everybody up.
For me, by far and away, the strong point of this series is its villains. I'm not going to spoil the reveal of the big one at the end, but it's a favorite. And other than that, I really never don't enjoy the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, they're kind of always fun. It's true. They were actually in some Harley Davidson ads that ran for 6 weeks in the back of comics. Yeah, in the floppies that we buy, They were there. It was not a compelling story. But I do kind of want to buy a Harley now, or be in the Wrecking Crew, one of the two. But we digress.
You could do both.
I could. Man. That's right. But yeah,
I want to be the other villain.
Point being, Wolverines, it looks like it's going to be kind of an interesting series. Really, it's just a sort of unlikely characters thrown into weird circumstances, and very over-the-top, cartoonish violence and character drama. Everything just feels kind of amped up to 11, and, that's got its appeal. I feel pretty okay about this book.
I gotta say, this probably isn't a series that I would have in my box if we were not obliged to review it. But given that we are, I'm enjoying it. Last, but certainly not least, we have X-Men number 23. This is written by G. Willow Wilson, the first issue of her run. It is penciled by Roland Boschi, inked by Jay Leistein, and colored by Lee Luffridge.
And this is actually the third writer on the book. Previously it was Brian Wood and then Mark Guggenheim, each writing the same kind of all-female team of X-Men, although the lineup has changed.
And we spent the last several issues of the previous run really waiting for this one to start.
Totally.
We were not super impressed with Guggenheim on the book, and we both really, really love Willow Wilson's work in general. And we're excited enough about this that we awarded it last week when we did the Corbeaus in our Giant Size special, the Super Doctor Astronaut Peter Corbeau Irene Adler Memorial Award for Most Anticipated Future Series. So now that we've seen the first issue, you think that plays out?
I think it's good. I think it's definitely not an issue that is as spectacular as that long series of names would warrant on its own. But as the first chapter of an arc, I think it's very, very strong.
To be fair, nothing is as spectacular as Super Doctor Astronaut Peter Corbeau. Nothing.
Well, that's fair.
Nothing.
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 Not a thing.
So anyway, X-Men, first issue of Willow Wilson's arc. The storyline, by the way, is called The Burning Earth, which sounds metal as hell, and I really appreciate that.
So this book, if you're not familiar with it, is focusing on an all-female team of X-Men. Currently, that team is made up of Storm, Psylocke, Rachel Summers, who I don't think has a code name at the moment, and Monet.
Mm-hmm. And with Jubilee sort of back home as still a central character, but not one on the away team.
Right, and this issue, in fact, this run in general is doing something that neither of the previous two had, which I feel like they really should have, because except for Storm, these are all second and third string X characters, and ones who've been written just phenomenally inconsistently over the years, which is spending an issue to focus on the POV of one specific character. It starts out with Storm. And
I think it captures Storm's voice very, very well. Like that combination of regality and bluntness and humanity and almost divinity, like all those contradictions, the multifaceted nature of the character that makes up Storm, I think G. Willow Wilson freaking nails it.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a surprise. She's a phenomenal writer. Her run on Ms. Marvel, if you're not reading it, you're missing one of the best books currently coming out. Really from anything. I was going to say one of the best superhero books, but no, it's just one of the best ongoings coming out right now. And this, I think, is a pretty good demonstration of range, because it's tonally very, very different from that.
And yeah, one thing I actually find really interesting about the tone and the structure of this is that so this is adjectiveless X-Men. It's just called X-Men, and it's very much an action-oriented book, and I think having the action-oriented book be the one with the all-female cast is a really cool direction to take. It's not one that the industry often does, and I think that's rad.
Also, it's really nice to finally see a female writer on it, because
yeah,
that's been a really damn long time coming, Marvel.
Yeah, seriously. So kudos to you, Marvel. Good job. Keep doing it.
Looking at the rest of the creative team, I have really, really mixed feelings about the art. I think Boschi is a very good layout artist and penciler. I think the inking is really solid in general. The faces in this series and the perspective are rough to an extent that for me affects reading and affects narrative.
That's fair. I will say, though, certain characters are captured very, very well. I really love the Rachel Summers in this. I guess she's Rachel Gray these days. I also really love the Gambit. He looks so gloriously douchey. It's perfect.
So I want to take issue with Gambit in this, because one of the things that Will has mentioned in interviews about this book, and I should mention, too, that we're actually going to be having her on the podcast to talk about this series, the episode, not that's going up this Sunday, but the following one. So we'll be talking about this more and discussing this there as well. But it begins at Burning Man, and she asked
Burning
around.
Tree,
well, it begins at Burning Man, and she asked around about the X-Men who people thought would be most likely to show up at Burning Man, and got apparently Gambit as an overwhelming answer. As experts, we would like to point out that answer is in fact incorrect.
The correct answer is in fact Adam X, the X-Treme.
Seriously, I mean, how is he not the X-Men most likely to show up at Burning Man? Clearly.
Although actually X-Force did go to Burning Man once, canonically, I'm just saying.
Which iteration, though?
Cannonball, Warpath, that one.
I could totally see Cannonball getting dragged to Burning Man by like a girlfriend or something.
But anyway, yeah, so it's a strong issue. This run is shaping up to be a really, really good one. I'm really excited to see where it goes. So there you have it. 5 books this week. Rachel, what's our favorite?
Well, for me, I think the pick of the week is really a no-brainer, and that is Storm number 7. It's just such a solid issue on every front. It's really Pack at his strongest, proving that he can do the same things with ongoing story that he really nailed with standalone stories in the earlier parts of this series. Albero Nuevo, which is really starting to catch his stride as the artist in ways he hasn't previously. Great story, great use of the X-Men as supporting cast, and really, really great handling of Storm. I think it's a pretty good... It's a really good illustration of why we've been liking this series so much so far, and why you should be reading it if you're not.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our issue of the week, Miles. What have we got by way of a panel of the week?
So our panel of the week this time is actually from the Weapon X program number 5. We've seen, our heroes who are the rejects of the Weapon X program, the guinea pigs, and these guys are the ones that are, that the Weapon X program is attempting to perfect and create.
And we get these guys revealed in a big, fancy splash page this week, and what a splash page it is.
Yeah, I mean, the layout isn't all that exciting. It's cool, but it's nothing, breathtaking. But mainly, I just love what's going on here. We have all these people testing their powers in various ways in this sort of high-tech danger room thing.
Right, we've got a guy flying, we've got a guy manipulating electricity, but those guys are all in the background. They're not the focus of what's going on here.
Because the important thing is this biker/pirate who's very serious about the raptor birds he is holding up. What are his powers? Something about birds? We don't know. My theory is that the birds are his external digestive system, a la the South African X-Men character Maggot, and he's just the updated version of that. It's really hard to say.
Yeah, and he is front and center in this panel, and this is ridiculous. And he's just a pirate. He's obviously a pirate. He's got the bandana, he's got the earring, he's got the mustache. So he's probably a high-ranking pirate because he's a big deal in this team in this book.
Yeah, he's totally a captain.
And he's got these birds of prey. Does that make him Captain Falcon?
This character henceforth is named Captain Falcon.
Yes.
I hope he recurs. I hope he's the only character that's in Wolverines after the second issue.
I hope he yells Falcon Punch all the time.
Marvel, you heard it here first. Do it. Captain Falcon for President 2016. It'll be great.
But seriously, I would love to see the script for this page.
He's got to be a recurring character. He's got to be. In a world with any justice. So there you have it. We are all set.
If you like what you've seen here, please take a minute to check out our podcast, Rachel and Miles Explain the X-Men. New episodes go up every Sunday on iTunes and Stitcher, as well as at rachelandmiles.com, where you can also find a visual companion to every episode, essays, art, and much, much more. Mm-hmm. What do we have for them this week, Miles?
So this week we are going to revisit an annual that we passed by earlier on, where Cloak and Dagger meet the New Mutants, and then come back to an arc where they meet up again. It's Bill Sienkiewicz and Chris Claremont doing angel-y, demon-y, character-driven-y good stuff. One of my favorite New Mutants arcs.
The podcast, everything we do here, is entirely listener-supported and ad-free. If you want to join the awesome Patreon supporters who help make this possible, you can do that at the link below, somewhere between roughly crotch and knee level. We're currently working toward a new milestone goal, which if we hit it will force me to review and recap every single episode of X-Men Evolution. Weird tight-rolled jeans, boxer shorts, and all.
Mm-hmm. So we will see you guys next week, where we'll review more Wolverines, and then the week following, Forever, Unto Infinity. It's an adamantium world, guys. We just live in it. Is that Squirrel Girl? It's not next book.
So, it's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
It's 1,000,000 times better than anything else.
True.
Ever.
Mm.